Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn English podcast.
How to learn English step by step at home. Learn English through podcast.
Learning English step by step at home is not only possible, but it is one of the most powerful journeys you can take as a young person who wants to improve your future. And when we talk about learning English through podcasts, we are talking about a simple, practical, and highly effective method that uses modern technology to transform your daily life into a classroom without walls. And I want you to imagine this clearly, because years ago, if someone wanted to learn English, they needed to join an expensive school, travel to another country, or carry heavy textbooks everywhere. But today, you can sit in your bedroom, put on your headphones, and have the voices of native speakers, teachers, and inspiring people speaking directly to you in English, guiding you step by step, and training your ears and your brain to think in a new language. And this is something that past generations could only dream of, but you are lucky enough to have it available at any time. And the key here is not just listening randomly, but building a system, a step-by-step approach that makes English learning at home organized, enjoyable, and effective. So let's break down how you, as a young learner, can truly take control of your English journey from the comfort of your own home using podcasts as your main weapon. And let me tell you first why podcasts are so powerful, because they are natural, they are authentic, and they expose you to the real rhythm of English, not just the slow and artificial version you sometimes find in classrooms, but the real way people speak, laugh, pause, and use expressions in daily life. And this is the type of English you will need in the real world, whether it's for study, travel, or career opportunities. And the best part is that podcasts are flexible. You can listen while you are cooking, cleaning your room, walking to school, exercising, or even before going to sleep. And this means you can double or triple your learning time without even sitting at a desk. And that is the secret of modern learners. They know how to use every moment of the day to their advantage. So if you are serious about learning English at home, you must build the habit of listening to English podcasts every single day. Because it's not about listening once a week, it's about consistency, about building a routine that trains your brain slowly, step by step. And if you commit to this, you will see results that will surprise you. The first step in learning English at home through podcasts is to choose the right content, because there are thousands of podcasts out there, and not all of them will help you as a beginner or intermediate learner. And this is where many young people make mistakes. They choose a podcast that is too difficult, full of complex vocabulary, and then they feel lost, frustrated, and give up. But you must understand that learning a language is like climbing a staircase. You cannot jump to the top. You have to take one step at a time. So start with podcasts made for English learners, where the hosts speak slowly, clearly, and explain things in a simple way. And once your ears and brain become comfortable, then you can move on to more advanced podcasts. And eventually, you will be able to listen to anything, from news channels to interviews to motivational speeches. But always remember, step by step, because small progress every day becomes big progress over time. And when you listen, don't just let the words pass through your ears. Focus, pay attention, and try to connect the sounds with the meaning. And one powerful trick is to listen to the same episode several times, because the first time, you may only understand 30%. The second time, maybe 50%. And by the third or fourth time, you will start to hear words you didn't notice before, and suddenly you will realize that your brain is adapting. And this is how real learning happens, not by listening once and moving on, but by repetition, by training your ear to recognize the patterns of English. And podcasts are perfect for this because you can replay them as many times as you want. The second step is active listening versus passive listening. And this is very important because many young people think they are learning just by playing English audio in the background. But the truth is that your brain learns faster when you focus. So active listening means you sit down, put away distractions, and really pay attention to what is being said. Maybe even writing down new words, repeating phrases out loud, or shadowing the speaker's voice, which means speaking at the same time as them. And this trains your pronunciation and rhythm. But passive listening is also useful, because even if you are not fully focused, your brain is still picking up sounds and intonations. So the secret is to combine both. Dedicate at least 20 to 30 minutes of active listening every day, and then use passive listening during other activities, like while walking, traveling, or doing chores. And if you do this consistently, you will create an English environment at home, even if you live in a place where nobody speaks English. And that is the power of technology. It allows you to bring the English-speaking world into your room. The third step is speaking practice, and here is where many learners fail because they think listening alone will make them fluent, but fluency requires speaking. And the good news is that podcasts give you endless material to practice with, because after listening to an episode, you can pause, repeat, and try to copy the way the host speaks. And this is where shadowing becomes very powerful, because when you repeat exactly what you hear, matching the speed, the tone, and the pronunciation, you are training your mouth muscles to produce English sounds naturally. And the more you practice, the more confident you become. And if you want to take it further, you can even record your voice while repeating and then compare it with the original. And this way, you can notice the differences and improve, step by step. And even though you are at home alone, you are actually practicing with native speakers. And this builds real fluency over time. So never just listen silently. Always try to speak along, because that is how your English becomes active, not just passive. The fourth step is building vocabulary from podcasts, because one of the biggest challenges for young learners is remembering new words, and podcasts give you natural vocabulary in context, which is much easier to remember than memorizing long lists. Because when you hear a new word in a story, in a conversation, or in an explanation, you understand not only its meaning, but also how it is used, and this makes the word stick in your memory. And here's a simple technique. Keep a notebook or use a note-taking app, and every time you hear a new word or phrase, write it down with the sentence where you heard it. And later, try to use that word in your own sentence. And if you repeat this process every day, your vocabulary will grow naturally, and you will not only know the meaning of words, but also how to use them correctly. And this is one of the biggest advantages of podcasts. They teach you living English, not just dictionary definitions. And this is the type of English that will make you sound natural when you speak. The fifth step is making it a daily habit, because learning English at home is not about one big effort. It is about small, consistent actions that build up over time. And podcasts are perfect for building habits, because they are easy to access, they don't require a teacher, and they can fit into your routine. So the key is to choose a specific time each day. Maybe in the morning after you wake up, or at night before you go to sleep, and make podcast listening part of your life, just like brushing your teeth. And if you miss a day, don't worry, but always come back the next day, because the secret is consistency. And after a few weeks, you will notice that your ears are getting used to English. Your mind is recognizing patterns, and you are starting to understand more and more without translating. And that is the magic moment when English begins to feel natural.
Another step you must focus on if you want to learn English step by step at home through podcasts is developing the habit of thinking in English. And this may sound difficult at first, but podcasts make it much easier because the more you listen to natural conversations, the more your brain starts to connect ideas directly in English instead of always translating from your native language. And this is very important for young learners because translation slows you down and makes you nervous. But when you think directly in English, your words come out faster and more confidently. And here is a simple exercise you can do at home. After listening to a podcast episode, pause for a moment and try to explain in English what you just heard. It doesn't matter if your sentences are simple or if you make mistakes. What matters is that you are forcing your brain to process the information in English. And with practice, this becomes easier and easier. And soon you will notice that simple thoughts like, I'm hungry, I need to study, or I want to listen again, start appearing in English without effort. And that is when you know your brain is adapting. And podcasts are a perfect trigger for this because they constantly feed you with real sentences, expressions, and ideas in English. The next step is to use podcasts as a source of inspiration and motivation, because learning English is not just about grammar and vocabulary, it is about keeping your energy high and your dream alive. And podcasts often bring stories of successful people, interviews with inspiring guests, and discussions about life, goals, and growth. And as a young learner, this is exactly what you need, because there will be days when you feel lazy, days when you doubt yourself, and days when you think English is too hard. But if you listen to voices that motivate you, that remind you why you're learning, that encourage you to keep going, you will never quit. And in fact, many learners improve faster not because they're smarter, but because they're more motivated. And podcasts give you this daily push, like a friend cheering you on, telling you that your effort is worth it, and that every minute you spend listening is an investment in your future. So don't underestimate the motivational power of podcasts, because sometimes one inspiring sentence can give you the strength to study for another hour, to repeat another episode, or to keep speaking even when you feel shy. Another very important step is to set clear goals for your learning. Because if you just listen to podcasts without direction, you may enjoy it, but your progress will be slow, and young learners need to see progress to stay motivated. So set small, specific goals, like I will understand at least 50% of this episode by the end of the week, or I will learn 5 new words every day from podcasts, or I will shadow 10 minutes of audio every morning. And when you achieve these goals, celebrate them, because every small win builds your confidence, and confidence makes you stronger for the next step. And over time, these small steps create massive progress. And this is how young people who start from zero become fluent, not overnight, not by magic, but by building one step after another consistently and patiently. And podcasts are perfect for this system because they are structured in episodes, so you can use each episode as a goal, mastering it before moving to the next one. And this keeps your learning organized and measurable. One more powerful way to use podcasts is for pronunciation training, because many young learners struggle with speaking clearly. But if you listen carefully to how podcast hosts pronounce words, their intonation, their rhythm, and their stress, and then you imitate it, you will sound more natural. And here's a technique. Choose a 1-minute segment of a podcast, play it, pause after each sentence, and repeat exactly what you hear. Try to copy not only the words, but also the feeling, the tone, the speed. And if possible, record yourself and compare. And don't be discouraged if it doesn't sound perfect at first, because this is training. And the more you do it, the better your pronunciation becomes. And little by little, your accent becomes clearer, and people will understand you more easily. And all of this practice can be done at home, without a teacher, without a classroom. Just you, your headphones, and your determination. And that is why podcasts are such a powerful tool for young learners. Now let us talk about the emotional side of learning English at home, because this is often ignored, but it is actually very important, especially for young people, because sometimes you feel lonely, sometimes you feel like nobody understands the effort you are making, and sometimes you feel like giving up. But podcasts give you a sense of connection, because when you listen to someone's voice every day, you feel like you know them, like they're your friend, your teacher, your guide. And this emotional connection makes learning easier, because you're not just listening to random words, you're listening to a voice you trust, a person who makes you feel comfortable. And this relationship, even if it's one way, motivates you to keep coming back. And this is why many learners stick with certain podcasts for years, because it feels like a family, like a safe place where they can grow. And if you're a young learner at home, you should find at least 1 or 2 podcasts that you love, that make you feel happy and motivated, because this emotional bond will keep you consistent, and consistency is the real secret to mastering English. Another key step is to combine podcasts with other technologies, Because learning at home doesn't mean you only have one resource. In fact, the best learners are those who mix tools creatively. For example, after listening to a podcast, you can use a transcription app to read the words, or you can use an AI assistant to ask questions about the vocabulary, or you can write a short summary of the podcast in English and then check it with a grammar tool. And this way, you are not just listening, you are practicing reading, writing, and speaking too. And all of this can be done from your home, using free or cheap tools online. And when you combine them, your progress becomes much faster because you're training all four skills: listening, speaking, reading, and writing together. And this is how young learners who study at home can actually become even better than those who go to expensive schools, because they know how to use technology smartly. Finally, one of the most important steps you can take is to stay patient and consistent, because many young learners want fast results. They want to speak fluently in 3 months, and when they don't see that, they quit. But learning English is not a sprint, it is a marathon. And podcasts are perfect for marathons because they give you endless content, endless practice, and if you make them part of your life, not just part of your study time, you will see that fluency comes naturally, step by step. And one day you will look back and realize how far you have come, and you will be proud of yourself because you didn't quit, you didn't rush, you trusted the process, and you enjoyed the journey. And that is the most beautiful part of learning at home. You are not under pressure. You are learning in your own space, in your own way, with your own rhythm. And that freedom is a gift, but it only works if you respect it, if you use it wisely, and if you keep going even when it feels slow. Because every podcast you listen to, every word you repeat, every sentence you shadow, every mistake you make is building your fluency. And that is the truth. Fluency is built, not given, and you have the tools to build it right now. So, in the end, learning English step by step at home through podcasts is not something complicated or impossible. It is simply about starting small, staying consistent, and using the voices, the stories, and the lessons you hear every day as your teachers. And if you're young and motivated, you already have the most powerful tools in your hands: your phone, your headphones, and your willingness to grow. So do not wait for the perfect school, the perfect teacher, or the perfect moment, because the perfect moment is now. The perfect teacher could be the next podcast you listen to. And the perfect student is you if you decide to keep moving forward day by day, word by word, step by step, until one day you realize that English is no longer something you are learning, but something you are living. And that is the true reward of this journey.